You passed your smooth jazz check. It's
The No Class Podcast.
with your host, Eddie.
And Mateo.
Welcome, Matt.
Hey, how are you, man?
Pretty good.
Tell me about what's been going on.
No, the first thing we're going to talk about is the smooth sounds that our listeners are hearing right now.
What? You mean it's not going to sound like we're talking in a tin can down a long hall?
We'll see.
We shall see.
But your good buddies, the cheapest men in Longview, have upgraded their equipment.
Yep.
So we'll start a Patreon or a GoFundMe or something to help us pay for this.
The things we do for love. The things we do for
But
love.
we've actually invested a few dollars now, and I hope you hear it.
More than a few.
And I hope you hear it.
I hope you do. I hope it comes across.
So this one could be an adventure. You might go like, those levels are too low or it's too high. So we're locking it down. This is the first one with the new cool stuff.
Yep. We've debated for a while, and we pulled the trigger.
We decided you're worth it, listeners.
You're totally worth it. In fact, I read somewhere recently some statistics.
You read it?
I did, that the sexiest podcast listeners are people that listen to the No Class Podcast. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's a scientific research study.
Yeah.
I think the FDA was in charge of that.
Exactly. Johnson's & Johnson's, or who knows, or Howard & Johnson.
That's
I
what
don't
they
know.
call us, Johnson & Johnson.
Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe.
Yep.
Anyway,
I feel like
all
we're
right.
on NPR now. That's what kind of great sound quality
I
we've
know.
got.
I
We
just
feel like
wanna
I should
have that
whisper all this.
Monotone.
He rolls the D20, and the crowd gasps.
I feel like I should have a trifurcated name, you know, to be extra pretentious. Anyway.
Matt O'Sullivan Gullet.
You know, but then there's got to be something there like Sanchez, you know, like the widest two names, like, you know, Smith and Jones, and then Sanchez, or, you know, whatever, Guadalajara.
If you're using this podcast for workout purposes, remember, right now you should be really stretched, limbered out before you start your workout. So this is the time, if you haven't got all your stretches in, pause the podcast, centralize your chakras, get your aura in alignment.
Dun, 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 rising up.
And now, what did you want to talk about?
Well, so anything interesting going on in your personal life? Because I know you want to put all your personal laundry out there for, you know, the interwebs.
Nothing interesting has gone on in my personal life for 50 years.
Wow.
Before I was born.
What a bargain. What a deal.
Even my parents' personal life was boring, so there you go.
There you go. So, two things.
1, 2.
Baby grand piano, laser pointer.
Okay.
So, recently my wife had found an estate sale. That's one of her hobbies. She loves to, there'll be a pleasant little spring weekend or whatever, and we'll take off on a really pleasant drive through the countryside. This time of year is gorgeous anyway. It's an excuse. We'll go to some estate sale and buy some incredible antique at a, you know, really cheap price that we don't have room for. Anyway, we live in the electronic age, so Steph, my beloved wife, found a real estate sale out in the middle of, nowhere, East Texas. And so she was bidding on something. And I'm like, what are you bidding on? Well, a few things. Well,
Bidding online?
yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm like, bidding. Yeah, this is kind of new for the real estate sale.
Do my bidding, Matt.
And so I'm like, well, what are you bidding on? Because I can tell she's being kind of, you know, cagey. And finally she's like, well, there's like a buffet. I thought, cool, we could use a buffet in the dining room and get a good deal on it or something. And she's like, I'll refinish it. Great. And then she's bidding on this and that. And then and she's like, that's pretty much it. I'm like, what are you not telling me? She was bidding on a baby grand piano. Yeah. You see the look at his face. Now, you're hopefully thinking what I thought. Where in the hell would
That
we
is
fit?
correct. I don't know where you're going to put a buffet.
Exactly. And so, as it is. So I was like praying to God, and sometimes I question it, but no, he loves me because luckily she got outbid.
That was me.
Yeah, thank you. You're my hero. You're my savior, because I was just sweating that. So I love, one of our mutual friends was like, I'd love to have seen you win it. And I go, why? Why would you wish on me? He goes, to see the look on your face. I'm like, I want to punch your face. But anyway.
Well, the even better part that relates to me is who would have to help you move this thing around all the different levels of the house.
Yeah, my Fred Flintstone furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell you that story.
tell me that one to tell me this one.
Yeah. So, you know, Oscar the cat, we all love the little scamp. And, but he's been getting a little fluffy, you know, and I thought he needs some exercise. So the other day I thought, you know what? Cats love laser pointers, but I don't have a laser pointer, but I do have a handgun with a laser on it. So here I'm like swinging this pistol around, and the cat's running all over the house furiously. And Steph rounds the corner and goes, what the hell? And I'm just like, I'm just using the laser. Like, I don't have my finger anywhere near, I don't have my booger hook anywhere near the trigger, you know. Good trigger control there. But still, she's like, let me get you a regular laser pointer. That's really not safe. Anyway, now you should see his face.
The opinions and actions of Matt Gillett do not reflect the No Class Podcast, and we are not liable for any accidental cat shootings.
No. I love Oscar. I would never shoot him on purpose.
If the shoe was on the other foot and you had a piece of chicken, that feeling wouldn't be mutual.
No, he would shoot me for that chicken in a heartbeat. Texas Chicken Joe, a.k.a. Oscar the Grouch.
My favorite cat that lives in your house that's addicted to chicken.
Exactly. And abuses us to your amusement.
Yes.
Always.
Especially when we're like on the PlayStation Network chatting and I hear,
yeah, that little bastard just bit me.
That's
you know,
always a good time for me too.
Yeah, you love that. Or in the background, you hear Steph go, yeah, and you know what happened. I hear Eddie, he's the Oscar sneak attack. No one in the world is better to that animal than my wife, and he bites her and runs away 5 times a day. And she'll like, I just love him. I'm like, wow, that's like Stockholm syndrome or something, you know. Anyway, all right, let's get to it, sir.
Yeah, we're wearing the headsets today on top of that too, which is new for us, and doesn't it feel so different?
Extremely different.
You feel like you're giving your deposition or something? Yeah.
Well, the cool thing is normally if people were doing a conversation nearby, we'd be glaring at them, but not today.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
I don't think the mics are going to pick up that much, but I mean, there was times when we could like listen to music in the background.
Yeah.
Or have the lawnmower go by and it wouldn't picked up.
Somebody was mowing the lawn nearby and we were like, oh, that's going to come through, and it didn't with the old mics. So there's that.
All right. We are talking about maybe doing a little recording at the Long Con Spring, see how this equipment works. So that is next weekend?
Yeah, next weekend. Not tomorrow, but next weekend.
Where does the time go?
I'm telling you.
Yeah, by the time you hear our dulcet tones again, it'll be after Long Con Spring. So we'll have all those stories to tell you. We don't record another podcast before.
Oh, right. But I mean, yeah.
Next time they hear from us.
Right.
Not the next time you hear from us.
Not this recording.
Correct.
This is going out on the wire today. All right. Excellent, sir. Anything you'd like to add about Long Con Spring?
When will the next one be? Only Destiny can tell us.
Destiny's Child. Anyway, all
right. Well, you know how this works.
Mm-hmm.
Do you got any books you want to tell us about? Did you crack some books open?
I sadly did not get a chance to read that book by Wagner. But what was I going to say? Yeah, no, sadly I didn't get a chance to read that book by Wagner, which was about Cain, you know, the pulp book I'd mentioned. But I will read that book.
How about some comic books?
That's your wheelhouse, sir. Your bailiwick.
Yeah, I know. Now I got to spin this whole... I actually had to stop reading comic books because I had too much material. I was like, I don't want to talk about that much on the...
I feel you, and you'll know in a minute.
Oh, is it going to be the movies? The movie section?
I watched a bunch of movies, but I'm not going to share all the things I've been watching.
Well, I guess if you've seen the title of this, the cat might be out of the bag for our topic today, which according to me is no topic.
Tee-hee.
But according to Matt is secret topic, which will be a question that I shut down immediately.
What I would flatfoot you? Who would do such a thing?
Shut it down immediately so that you don't have to waste your time.
Waste their time. Their edification.
Now, for those of you that are using this as a workout, you go ahead and pick up your pace now.
Yeah.
You've got all your stretching. You should be nicely warmed up.
Mm-hmm.
You've got everything centralized where it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
So hit it.
There you go.
If I was you, I'd put on some AC/DC. That would be the appropriate thing.
Yeah.
But if you want to work out to us, I encourage it, sir.
Like if you were a centralized computer, you'd be overclocked now.
Right now. All right, so for some reason, some bizarre reason, I keep ending up with these post-apocalyptic Incredible Hulk comics.
What?
Marvel must be on some sort of a roll now, but the latest one is The Hulk, The End. So, in a world that's been destroyed, in the typical post-apocalyptic thing, the only thing left is the Incredible Hulk.
And cockroaches.
And cockroaches, indeed. So, Bruce Banner is aging. I think it's been 200 years since the Age of Heroes, or 200 years after the apocalypse. So Banner is aging more slowly, but he's 200 plus now. So he's really getting there where he's like, I need this to end. This is a living hell, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the Hulk does not. Hulk only wants to live, even if it's by himself or even if it's this nightmare post-apocalyptic scenario.
Interesting.
So, a really good comic. It's fairly short. It's a trade paperback, so somewhere between one normal comic book and two. So it's real short. I can't give you a lot of the details or I'll be giving away the whole thing.
Right.
But definitely check it out. The Hulk, The End.
I'm intrigued. I'm going to check that out.
Immortal Hulk, which I always have to talk about that.
I haven't heard about that in a minute.
Yeah, you have, but still going good. That's one where it's like rapidly getting to the end. They're going to end it at 50, and I think they're at about 46 or 47 now.
Getting close.
So it's getting really close, and it's really good. I saw somebody, though, that was talking about it online the other day that made me say, hey, I'm going to share this with you guys. It's a really good description. Whenever the Hulk comic ends on a cliffhanger, the Hulk isn't in danger. The bad guys are in danger. It's like, what's going to happen to them? It's kind of like the tables have turned. Like, yeah, you got to beat up the Hulk for an issue, but the last page is him rising up from you throwing everything you could possibly throw at him. Because it's more of a horror comic.
Yeah,
he's like, Jason won't stay down, or Godzilla keeps coming out of the
they're
water.
They're exploring some interesting concepts with the Hulk using these titles, like this apocalyptic end or this. I'm really interesting that they picked the Hulk, in which it turns out was genius, to explore these concepts with. That's interesting.
Yep. And I'm still reading the, what is Maestro, War and Peace. So in this one, in this post-apocalyptic future, there's still civilization, and Dr. Doom has showed up to take over the Maestro's area. So yeah, me and you are big Doom fans, but since it's Hulk's comic, Doom's about to get slapped around, I think.
Right.
But that's always good when Doom shows up.
Oh yeah, love me some Doom.
All right, here's one that hopefully you'll go like, WTF.
Yeah.
I was looking at a comic of the 100 greatest comics. Because this is kind of like off of your movie thing where you're watching the probably 100 worst movies. I was like, maybe I should read some of the more respected stuff and give you guys some opinions on that. So this is one that I came across, no pun intended, on the top 100 list, which is called Sex Criminals.
Sex Criminals.
Yes.
It's in the top 100.
Yes. What if you had the power to stop time whenever you climaxed? This was on a top 100 list, and I said, that's an interesting premise.
Intrigued.
And it was one of these like NPR lists or something like that, so it wasn't like 100 sluttiest, smutty comics.
Yeah.
So a couple discovers that they have the power to stop time and decide to rob a bank. Mischief ensues. If that sounds interesting to you, check it out. It is a bit adult, but it is not full on. You have to go to the adult bookstore to buy. So it's interesting for our over 18 listeners. Yeah, but really, we come up with some weird stuff. So that's my weird one for you.
There you go.
In the more normal, in the mainstream baby, the Vision comic from 2016, which is part of the inspiration for the WandaVision show.
Really?
Yep. It is awesome, incredible, highly recommended. All the wonderful things that I could say about a comic book, I say about this comic book.
Oh, wow.
The Vision has created himself a family of synthezoids, the androids, if you will. It's really well written. It sticks the landing. It has a fantastic ending, so that a lot of times it's like, where's this going to go? And how it ends is going to be the biggest impact. So Yes. What a great ending. What a great read. Rush out and buy it.
Cool.
It is written by Tom King, which led me down a rabbit hole because I haven't heard of him before.
Mm-hmm.
He also read, and I guess there's a pun intended for that, rabbit hole. He wrote Elmer Fudd versus Batman. So there's another one. I'm not going to tell you about it. You already know in your mind right now if that's something you need to read or not.
Hard pass.
What? Elmer Fudd versus Batman.
Oh, that wascally bat.
It's bat season.
Anyway.
Okay. So that brings us to the TV. Did you get to watch any TV? Not the movies.
Not really.
So I get to yammer on a little bit more.
Yeah, please do.
Did you read Invincible comics by Robert Kirkman?
No, but you told me about them, and the thoughts crossed my mind.
So, super wonderful, fantastic. It's Superman. More of a Marvel Superman, I guess. He has problems with his life. Everything's not wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
He has to deal with his powers. They come up with good challenges for his powers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, when you get into comparing superhero power levels, but
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of the Superman for that world.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't read the comic, go check it out. The show moves both too fast and too slow.
The show?
There's a cartoon on Amazon now.
Right.
An animated series.
That's what I was at the comic book store in Austin the other day, and I said, "Oh, Invincible." They do something about that, and then someone like nearby said, "Oh, it's a cartoon now." Okay, carry on.
A lot of plot points, they burn through them pretty fast. Like you find out in the first episode, but you wouldn't find it out until episode 10. So some of the pacing,
it kind of jumps around.
But it's still, I recommend it. But like a lot of things,
the translation.
Read the books first, if you so desire, and then go back and watch
like
the
you
show.
might appreciate the show more if you've read the comics first.
And really, what I've seen up to this point, because they're doing the same Amazon thing again, like, we're going to release a new episode every Friday. And I'm like, stop it. I didn't know that at the time. I was like, oh, there's only X amount of episodes. Nope. I caught it while they were doing and on Friday there'll be a new episode. So
So I'll be waiting 6 months, and then I'll go back and watch them in a big glut like I want to, like a real American. Anyway.
But pretty much all of the plot points, if you read like the first 20 comics, which isn't a lot when it comes to reading comics,
right?
Then you can probably safely watch the show. I'm not asking you to read the whole series before you watch the show. And the show is still good. Check it out anyway.
And it's still a current title, isn't it?
It's not ongoing, if that's what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
It ended, which is also cool.
Yeah.
Because you've got some of them that just go on forever, and there's not going to be any resolution.
Yeah.
This one, it actually has a nice...
It's a cash cow.
Point.
Here's a new writer,
it has
new
a good
artist.
ending. It's another one where it sticks the ending, and I'm like, that was a fantastic one.
Cool.
And it's got an ending. It's not for the rest of your life.
Right.
Let's see. Kind of like Dune and Lord of the Rings. If you've read the books before you go into it, you'll have a better idea, but you don't have to. So, I also watched WandaVision, of course, and that's what led me to the Vision comic.
Oh, so it wasn't the other way around.
Nope. And the comic is The Vision of 2016, and again by Tom King, if you want to check that out, because if you just look for Vision or The Vision, you'll get a ton of titles. So that's the specific one.
2016.
WandaVision, I thought that was pretty good. The first 3 episodes are the sitcom hijinks, and I was like, you could probably skip those. Those really didn't add a lot to me. Your mileage may vary. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah. Now, I've heard a lot of good buzz in the nerdosphere about WandaVision, so... And that's on...
that's Disney Plus.
Disney Plus, yeah.
But they don't pay us, so...
Yeah.
Not like Amazon or Netflix do.
Yeah, so much.
Gotta get that new equipment money somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy a sip of water. So delicious. And then tell us about all the movies you've watched, and I'll go take a break.
Excellent. So, we recently, just a few days ago, celebrated the 40th anniversary, 40 years since Excalibur, the movie, premiered. It came out in 1981. It's a British film based on Le Morte d'Arthur by Thomas Mallory. It was filmed in Ireland, and it helped launch the film and acting careers of a number of Irish and British actors, including Liam Neeson, Patrick Stewart, Gabriel Byrne, and I hope I'm not saying this, Kieran Hines, who's our buddy from, he played Caesar in Rome. Yeah. See, did you know he was in that? So it was, I mean, how many people at launch? Helen Mirren was in it, and she had never, I think, it was kind of getting some prominence in theater at that time, but I think this is one of, if not her first movie. And then Nicole Williamson was in it. The scuttlebutt says they weren't fond of one another, but seeing as their characters were eventually adversarial, that was not some brilliance on the director's part. John Borman, who's did the movie, also cast his daughter Katrine Borman as Igraine. And how awkward must that have been, if you're familiar with her scene in the movie. And his son Charlie was young Mordred. Did you know that? So the scene where Uther magically disguised as the Duke goes to bed Igraine, and the dogs growl at him, I thought that was a nice touch. That, like in disguise. But turns out Merlin's charm of making is an old Irish Celtic pronunciation. Roughly translated to English, it's serpent's breath, charm of death and life, thy omen of making. The old Usfas Bethud Dothiel Enve, whatever. The story is about the coming of Christian man and the disappearance of the old religions, which are represented by Merlin. The forces of superstition and magic are swallowed up into the unconscious, per Mr. Borman. It premiered on HBO in 1982. The R-rated version was shown in the evenings, and the PG-rated version was shown during the daytime. And I will say the soundtrack was so good. Love that soundtrack. But the last scene with the boat and the music and the Swan Maidens as Arthur lays in repose and the boat's going off in the sunset. Oh, man, when I see that, it's just... Yeah, I get choked up. That's just awesome. That's some great, critics had varying opinions on it. And even a lot of the ones that they like, even Roger Ebert kind of halfway trashed it, but then he came back and said, well, no, the cinematography was great and da-da-da-da-da. So, I mean, there's aspects of it, even its worst critics could find something good to say about it. And anyway, it's grown to be kind of a cult classic. So this was interesting. There was an Excalibur behind the movie documentary that was done in, I think, 2013, and it was updated later, and that was pretty interesting. So I just say, if you like that movie, I would suggest you try to find that documentary and watch it. I think you can watch it free with like a 1-week membership to the PBS streamer, and then just cancel your subscription, But anyway, and that's older movies, but not something I'm going to call my usual B-movie trash. No, I mean, that's a classic.
So do you have some B-movie trash for us too?
Absolutely. Here we come. For your edification, people, I threw myself on the sword. The Warrior and the Sorceress.
Okay.
1984 is a version of the classic Kurosawa film Yojimbo.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Which has been done again. That was in, I think, a few dollars more or whatever with Clint Eastwood. It's been done. So more David Carradine and Luke Askew. Those guys apparently worked together a few times. The film is noted chiefly for containing extensive nudity and violence, and for being one of the more extreme examples of the sword and sorcery genre. Swordplay is good. The acting is okay. Fake lizard. There's like this fake lizard companion to one of the bad guys. Oh my gosh, some of the worst special effects. I mean, that's the part that you really might be getting into it and going, yeah, the acting's decent, the story's good, costume's not bad, and then you see this fake lizard thing, and it's pretty pathetic. But anyway, and boobies, lots and lots of boobies. At one point, there's a dancing girl with 4 boobs.
Oh, well, they just bypassed
Total
Recall.
They just amped it up. I mean, it's booby overload. In fact, the warrior, I know, the Warrior and the Sorceress. The Sorceress, pretty much, literally, if she's in any scene, she is wearing a G-string and this diaphanous thing that goes on the sides of her body, but she is bare-bosomed throughout. But this was done in like Argentina or something. Oh, wow. But anyway, but it's
thank you, Argentina. We salute you.
Yeah, we salute you in the most appropriate way. And then otherwise, I will mention this. Because I want to mention, I love this movie.
Mention it.
It didn't do well for whatever reason, but The Nice Guys, I think I've talked about it
Yeah,
before.
you've talked about
Yeah.
Where can you find it streaming is my question.
It's free on Hulu. If you have Hulu, it's on Hulu with no extra fee or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and I've actually looked at it to watch it, and I couldn't find it. So maybe that's a new edition.
It's currently, on Hulu. And so that one, it's 2016, and it changed. Like we talked about the movies that change your mind. Like, I didn't really like Brad Pitt until I watched Fight Club. Well, I've never had much of an opinion about Ryan Gosling until I saw him in The Nice Guys, and I liked him in that. And Russell Crowe is in it too, and Kim Basinger. And this is 2016, and Kim Basinger, she still got it, but yeah, it's kind of like but it's got an interesting story, and it might resonate with me more because it takes place in like the late 70s, early 80s, and it's Los Angeles at that like late 70s, like 78. And so the clothes and the wardrobe and the vehicles, it's a real throwback, kind of like you talking about the 1990s in Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like, you're like, oh my gosh, has it been that long? But I mean, for me, I love the little bit of nostalgia, but it's got a decent, I like that both these guys are just total DAs. And I love that kind of story where they're the heroes and they do heroic stuff at times, but a lot of it's just dumb luck and just not have enough sense to know when to quit kind of thing. It sets things on its ear. It's not the usual, we're two big tough guys that are brilliant and solve the crime. And it's just kind of like they literally fall backwards into clues and stuff. And anyway, but it's not, and the music's good. Anyway, your mileage may vary, but that's a movie I have caught myself watching and rewatching 3 and 4 times through the years. So
I really want to check it out. So.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my pop culture.
Pop culture moment. If you're using this podcast to work out, you're getting close to the home stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Push a little harder now. You're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and take it over the top.
Mm-hmm.
And, finish strong, as they say.
Exactly. Don't pull anything, but,
Pull your leg.
Exactly. I mean, if you pull a muscle,
Do you have any video game stuff? I know you're doing the Fallout a little bit here and there.
A little bit of Fallout 76 here and there. I started to play, what was it last night? The fighting game, the medieval.
We used to play all the time.
We used to
For Our Honor.
For Honor. I was queuing it up to play for a minute because I have kind of missed For Honor a little bit. But no, that's pretty much it. I'm still on the FO, doing those daily challenges,
Well, here's one that you probably don't expect to hear. I was playing This War of Mine a little bit.
What?
The video game, not the board game.
Right.
And I've got a really good run going right now. So I'm waiting for something horrible to happen and just F that all up.
You're going to get, the plague or something.
But every once in a while, I like to pull that out and torture myself. I get a hankering for it.
You are a masochist.
I can't. There's too much evidence that says otherwise at this point for me to argue.
You can't argue that. I can't either. So.
Okay, before you catch me flat-foot with your question,
mm-hmm.
I have finally run some Barbarians of the Ruined Earth.
He did indeed. And I was jelly. I couldn't be there.
So, Mike Evans, screw you. I'm the man now. Look at me. I'm the captain now. So, just to add to the degree of difficulty,
mm-hmm.
because Barbarians isn't that hard a game to run.
No.
One thing that I did that we've talked about is I did it diceless.
You never touched a die.
Because the players do their roll to hit, and they roll their
to evade,
not get hit, to evade rolls.
Yeah.
So all I really needed to do was go, here's average damage. This hit always does 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
And we did our initiative based off of a luck roll.
Which is brilliant. So the rules are pretty much exclusively player facing, which is some of the newer gaming lingo. But it's, you either love it or hate it, I think might be a way to put it.
So to add to the degree of the difficulty, or to give me, the GM, that much more to do, I did it as an improv game, which is something that me and you have been talking about doing for a long time.
And I have something based off that, so it segues.
Well, do you want to cut in, or do you want to come in after the fact?
No, come in. You keep going. You've got a good flow here going.
Okay. So, in the time
of the COVID.
I can just imagine how that sounds like buttery velvet in your
ears.
ears.
I know,
right?
baby.
So, try to control yourself with the sexual sounds of our voices now.
Oh, yeah.
But I did it as an improv game, and I had the players give me some info.
Mm-hmm.
So, they were in the village of Molten.
As an animal losing its, shedding its skin, right?
More like Molten Chaos. That was going to be the name of the town.
Okay.
Which is known for chaos.
Go figure.
Because it wasn't molten chaos.
Clever.
It's also known for knitting and sourdough bread.
Well, duh. Nothing's more chaotic than sourdough bread.
So I had to weave these into the tapestry for their enjoyment of the adventure.
Challenge accepted.
So I will say that after the fight, when they were injured, they brought them some delicious sourdough bread, which had healing properties.
Well, duh.
And then before they went on their quest,
They netted them some mittens.
the village elder Gullet gave the barbarian what do you call it, the metal bikini for that game?
Uh-huh.
Basically a vest that was yarn with metal studded in it.
I like it. There you go. That's all you need when you're the barbarian.
But they were after an evil sorcerer whose henchmen were Quark and BB Cool B.
BB Cool B.
Quark has the power of lamb chop, as in lamb chop and sherry.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know where I found these 60-year-old
For
players.
the three of you that get this reference, yeah.
Even for me, I'm like,
Lamb
that's
chop is a
old.
sock puppet.
Yeah,
That's
old.
Yeah, old.
And I actually had to do a little research on this. 'cause
Captain
I was like,
Kangaroo when I was a kid.
yeah, but I was like, how old is that? Apparently, she took over for Howdy Doody.
Yeah.
I was like, it's that old?
My sister, the oldest sister, watched Howdy Doody. That was before my time.
I'll make you feel bad and say,
Yeah.
my wife was like, yeah, I think my parents used to watch that as kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
I remember towards the end of Captain Kangaroo, or might not have been towards the end, but the end of me watching Captain Kangaroo, and he went away not long after I had outgrown that, but she used to be on Captain Kangaroo, yeah.
And then the other henchman was, like I said, BB Cool
B.
B. And his powers were
Smooth jazz, baby.
It had to be, right?
Had to be. It's
So
inevitable.
that was pretty cool. So they were
That's
able
fun.
to stop the evil mage before he became president.
Excellent. There you
That
go.
was his goal.
Well, duh. That's what all evil men strive for.
But we had a good time. There were way too many laughs.
Oh, I bet. It's the game. Bravo to you and Mike Evans, because, I mean, yeah, it's a fun game. It's just a fun game.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So
Because with that kind of a weird gonzo world, you can do whatever, like what you did, just crazy, silly.
infinite ideas.
It's silly, silly, silly fun. Because this one rolls his eyes and groans nonstop when I'm running, because I have dad jokes every 5 minutes. But
There's
that's
too much pun issue.
yeah. I hear tee-hee. I just took pun damage from that. But that's the thing. I think this is a game that lends itself to that. Apparently.
Yeah. But the power of Lamb Chop was that he could summon a 15-foot tall Muppet, basically, to run around
Sock
and terrorize
puppet.
them.
Yeah, like a big purple worm sock puppet.
And then the power of Smooth Jazz was that they had this discordant noise that gave them all the fear effect. So we haven't dealt with that too much in any of our Barbarians games.
Yeah.
But woof, when you get disadvantage on everything, and they were rolling pretty high, which is bad in this game, it's
Exactly.
like, here's all those 20s from last week.
I love where the players, I could see around the map, they had written notes to themselves, and one wrote in big letters with an exclamation, "Roll low."
That's me, baby. I wrote that on there for their viewing pleasure.
For their edification there. That's too funny.
But they had a good time, so that's a few more people that didn't know the joy of Barbarians before that.
I see Mike getting some more purchases probably soon.
Yeah, I brought it into their life.
Yeah.
And then
Spreading the disease.
Papa John across the street is reading my book right now to get ready for your game at NTRPG.
I thought he didn't get into the game.
He did.
Did he?
Yeah.
Good.
It was some last minute change ups.
Good deal.
It was, yeah. Tabletop events was not being good to everybody last night for
Well,
NTRPG.
Midnight is
concepts.
an excellent time to be.
That's when you want servers to go down.
Exactly. And so when you can call the company and get somebody on the phone easily at midnight. Anyway.
So a smooth segue would be,
So here's a question I'll pose based off of what you just said. So, see, I had an idea you were going to mention this and talk about your improv. So, improv cooperative games, and technically it was improv, but also it was cooperative improv because you were getting feedback from the audience. You were like, hey, what do you want to call the town, right? What are they known for, right? You took the material and you had to riff off that. As usual, being on Reddit, I should know better. But on one of the RPG forums, no, but So I thought this is interesting. I'd been meaning to talk to you about this, and maybe would it be worth a full topic? Probably not, since I think you wanted to go light today. But there was
folks.
People on there talking about this improvisational cooperative gaming. And whereas a lot of people like you and me, I would think, were like, when we did it with Brendan LaSalle, we were like, this is amazing, this is brilliant, but we're normally game masters. And not to stroke our egos, but
do it, stroke it.
By our nature of how much we've ran these games and played them, we've cultivated a certain degree of acumen at being able to be improvisational, to riff, to pull something out of our you-know-what in the game when the players throw you a monkey wrench in your plan. So, yeah, I thought, man, that's brilliant. I want to do that with a table of people. But then I remember as the topic went along, one guy goes, I did that one time at a table, and that GM sucked, and I hated that game. It was the worst game ever. And I'm thinking, man, what? And he goes, that's just lazy. Like, you just didn't want to do the work and write everything up, and I have to do the work at the table as a player. That's bunk. And I never thought of it because you remember you're in your own mindset where I'm thinking, that's brilliant and that's fun. But getting into not everybody's the same. Respect other people's mindset.
All right, so let me break in.
Yeah, please.
I exactly thought about that. It was like, well, will people be like, you're too lazy to write an adventure, so you just come to the table and do this? Because I don't know if everybody appreciates that. If that's like, oh, this is so cool. We're handcrafting something together.
We're
no, you should already have every stitch of this adventure written, and you should know A to Z. Mm-hmm. I don't have to do anything. I can passively sit here and enjoy it. Yeah. So I asked them after the fact, I said, okay, for the convention,
I want to hear this.
Should I do this as an improv? And they're like, yeah, that was hilarious.
Great.
But so for anybody that is going to the con that might hear this and you're like, why did you do that? Well, it's their fault. They told me it was really good.
You can blame it on Eddie's Play Group, which are a great bunch of folks. Be sure to hate them. Like hate mail. But
some people are going to love it. Some people are going to hate it, the improvisational style.
Yeah.
And then I can see some people are good at it and some people are not good at it.
Yeah.
So that's going to make a difference there too. And it could have easily come back that they were like, you sucked at that. You didn't come up with anything good the whole time. We were dying.
You'll bring your A game and you'll rock their socks off.
But for other people, maybe.
Yeah.
And in a way, I would say you talk about this a lot. Where creative players, if there's a creative player in Barbarians in general,
you will shine.
Yep. But if you're not, maybe Barbarians isn't your game. You need something that's more codified, and it's like you've got X, and Y, and Z powers. Mm-hmm. You can use those.
I need to know what my bells and whistles are. I want them quantified. I need a list in front of me, and I can work from that. But the guy, I'm like, you're a barbarian, and go, well, what can I do? Well, what can a barbarian do? Yeah, okay, you're not going to shine. But when I go, well, I'm going to swing from the chandelier and cut his head off with my battle axe and do a war yell and inspire my allies. And, well, that sounds reasonable for a barbarian. Okay, because this is old school gaming where think outside the box, be creative,
Well, they're in this adventure, I will say, since Ron's had a little bit of experience with barbarians, there was one where there were a bunch of baby spiders and the mama spider. Mm-hmm. Well, they killed the mama, but the babies were still all over them. Mm-hmm. So Ron's like, well, what if I start dragging the mom off? So instead of sitting there and attacking, he tried something different. And he dragged the mom away and the babies started
So you're like, how
direction.
can I reward his creativity?
And then when they were fighting Lamb Chop, he's like, is there any loose yarn on it so that I can start unstringing it?
Unravel it.
I said, you're darn right there is. I actually think I made him do a lot, but yeah, it was there. He started pulling it. He started unraveling it. And I'm like, he's pulling. He's not attacking. And it's round after round after round. And it's like, some people, and it didn't happen, but some people might be like, get over here and attack this thing. But what he was doing, because nobody was hitting it, there was other targets in the combat. So nobody was hitting it. But the more yarn he pulled, the more its RP was going down.
Cool.
And eventually it got to a point where it had 2 attacks around. It lost an attack. And then it got to where its attacks didn't hit as hard. Where it's like, instead of where it was slamming you onto the ground.
And this wasn't something like you had planned. This is something you came up with on the cuff to reward your player's creativity. Exactly. Well, same deal. At one point in a game a while back, I had the gang attacked by demon dogs, which are statted out creatures.
With the Lords of Light.
Exactly. That's, if you've ever watched Thunder, and if you haven't, tisk. But anyway, one of the players realized, like, man, instead of fighting these things because they're nasty, I'm going to pull out some rations and throw them to them. And I went, oh, okay. And I thought, well, shoot, all right, darn, I was looking forward to kicking their butt in this combat. But I'm like, but I could be a jerky GM and go, well, he just ignores it, comes for you. But I thought, my players are thinking outside the box. Let me reward that mentality. The players thinking outside the box. Don't be a jerk.
And we're not getting paid by Mike Evans yet.
Yeah.
We're trying. We're doing our best to get on his payroll.
Yeah.
But I think Barbarians lends itself to that.
Exactly.
Whereas in first edition, I'm more of a hard ass.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But there are games like Barbarians that lead to all the swashbuckling type action.
Mm-hmm.
And I was almost to the point where I'm like, because it was a lot of the Osric first edition group that was playing this.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, okay, if we're playing first edition, I want you carrying that 10-foot pole around. I want you listening at the doors. I want you being careful.
Take your time.
In Barbarians, if you're doing all that, you're screwing up.
Think
Get to
Saturday
the
morning
action.
cartoon.
Exactly.
Not cautious, telling the enemies, I'm coming for you, and calling out to them. And yeah, I mean,
I'm a careful player.
Yeah.
You know that.
Oh, yeah.
To a fault, and people love it.
Yeah, that's one of our shared,
But when I play Barbarian,
Oh, he is
I'm all over the place. It's
beating
like
the
pulling away from
shield,
this combat.
screaming.
No, I'm getting back in there. There's only
Yeah.
100 of them left.
Yeah. It's like, these are insurmountable odds. I don't tell me the odds. Rawr,
I am a
you know.
ranged weapon.
Exactly. So yeah, but it's a game that lends itself to that. So anyway, yeah, so it's a little topic, but it segues into what I knew you were going to be talking about today. So that it's interesting to see what people's thought process would be on that. Me, I love the idea of a shared, because think about it, it's old school D&D was supposed to be and could be shared storytelling, cooperative storytelling. You and the players together. It's not. Now, there's been times where I'm the GM telling a story. You get to interact with my story periodically. And I'm not saying that's wrong or a bad thing, but I've really enjoyed times in my life where it was a shared narrative that we were making together.
But how often is that fun?
Well,
If
in
if
middle
you
and
showed
small
up to play
doses.
in my dungeon every time, and it's like, I can tell you haven't done any work on this, and it's improv every single time, I don't think that would be fun.
Well, I would say,
I think it's a sometimes food.
I think it's kind of like a lot of things with the right players and the right game master probably might be good every time. And I say even then might, that caveat, but yeah, maybe not all the time. Or maybe it's kind of like me. I have bullet points and I expound from those. At least I have the bullet points and then I freestyle off those. But but I won't lie. I mean, I'd feel bad if y'all showed up for an adventure and I don't have anything on paper and I'm going to completely improv this. It's not going to be, I'm not running the best game I know Matt Gillett can run.
You're not living your best life.
I'm not living my best life. You're not going to get, as a player, living your best life. So, yeah.
But one of the other things you mentioned was that it was cooperative.
Yeah, the cooperative part is what I think is neat.
Now I want to see something that's non-cooperative improv. What would that be? Like
Well,
they're
well, I
yelling
mean,
out things
here's the
to-
thing. Like I'm saying, if you're completely doing the improv, that's improv, but that's you as the GM improv. The players don't have any input. But if the players in this case got some input on the name of the town, and
So what would non-cooperative be? I'm almost thinking it's like combative. This
Yeah.
is like PvP,
yeah, it might
improv.
be.
Which in a way I wanted them to do that too, because I was like, look, if I let them do, like, the henchman has this power of X, Y, or Z. I was like, if you want this henchman to have to be a mutant based off a marshmallow or whatever, okay, yeah, you made the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You can do that. You can try and stop me as much as you want to.
Yeah,
Like, he's a henchman that's a fluffy little bunny.
yeah.
He's cute and he gives kisses.
Have you seen the bunny from the Holy Grail?
Yeah, exactly. Try and stop me.
Yeah.
I've got ideas.
Yeah.
That's all I do. is
Run
think of ways to
away.
Destroy you. Destroy your characters.
That's right. But anyway, I am jelly. I didn't get to play. I'm sure that was a ton of fun.
Yeah, you've never got to play, right?
No, I've only ran it, and I have a lot of fun running
I've only
it.
got
But
to run it once so far. So there you
yeah,
go.
but
That's
you're going to
the
get to
flip
run
side.
it at Long Con Spring.
Yeah.
But you're not running it at NTRPG. But if someone twisted your arm, maybe you would.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe that
But
might
I
be
will
my chance
busy.
to play.
I'll be running the famous author Matt Gullett's
Mansion of Madness.
what
Palace of Pandemonium.
That's changing too.
Yeah, because I understand there's a board game, and there may already be a RPG adventure out there called Mansion of Madness. Mansions are all the rage apparently these days, so I thought, Palace of Pandemonium. And it's kind of more of a palace than a mansion anyway.
That's why you need to have Carnage in a Casino.
Exactly.
So I'm running that one again at NTRPG
Yeah,
too,
which is a fun one.
with our buddy Luau Lou.
Oh, hey Lou, you're in for a good time.
And yeah, we'll see our boy Matt Couch
Yep. I'm looking forward to seeing Matt and John Watson.
doing some Torg.
Yeah, we're going to play some Torg with John
So
Watson.
there's your
And
plug.
we haven't got to play with him in a long time is Bill Barsh. We're going to play with Bill Barsh.
I was just going to say, in general, there's a lot of people we haven't seen because of the time with COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting vaccinated now.
Wait a minute, what time was it?
The house a little bit more.
The time of the COVID. Anyway.
Sounds good. Sounds
Thanks.
good with that new equipment, doesn't it, folks?
Buttery.
It better.
Hot butter. Anyway, well, we'll have to see how this works out, the new equipment.
All right. So, remember when I said we didn't need a topic?
Right.
We're 45 minutes in.
That's not bad.
As this gets edited down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, if you're still working out, this is it. You made it to the end.
Congratulations.
Do your closeout cool down stretches.
Hydrate.
Yep. Hydrate. And that is it. You got anything else you want to add in?
I appreciate everyone for listening, and we love y'all. Not, in a bad way, But anyway.
This is when we need a video podcast because I'm giving you that look.
The stank look.
Anyway, give us some feedback. Give us some show ideas if you got them.
Please.
And that email address is?
NoClassRPGpodcast@gmail.com.
Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
If you try enough of those things, it'll get to us eventually.
Yeah, just try that in different combinations.
But I can see like a 0 level character. We're all out of hit points.